In today's episode, we will be looking at a topic of utmost importance to every Nigerian citizen. And what is the topic? In the Bible, in the Holy Book, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. But in Nigeria, if you put on your switch, you'll be lucky if you get light. We will be discussing the decentralization of Nigeria's power sector today, so get ready to gain a deep understanding of how power decentralization will work, especially after the alteration bill was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari on March 17. We'll be taking you through that topic in a bit. How can opportunities be unlocked despite the huge challenges in the sector? How do we also enhance energy access and spur economic growth across Nigeria? So sit back, relax, and let Moneyline with Nancy this morning be your trusted companion in making you gain deeper understanding concerning the topic we will be discussing in a bit. So let's All right, welcome back. 16 constitutional amendment bills were signed by President Buhari on March 17th. Power sector decentralization is one of the legislation that President Buhari approved and officially signed into law. States now have the freedom to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity in their national grid-covered territories. According to analysts in the power sector, the policy modification might increase the electricity supply availability as well as dependability. It could also draw more private investment and give state governments financial independence. The federal government alone had control over the power industry, which was overseen by NEC, which is the state regulator. What consequences will this policy change have? How substantial and effective will this be for the country's distressed energy sector? How will this policy shift work with the existing power sector players? Will this deepen and increase Nigeria's power generation capability, reinvigorate industries, create jobs, and stimulate economic development and growth? Will there be light when Nigerians turn on their switches? These are the questions I'll be asking my guest, who is here right now, the Managing Director and the Chief Executive Officer of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, NDPHC, Chiedu Ugbo. Welcome to you, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning, viewers.
Good morning. Where should we start from? The basics. I know that when the president signed just a few weeks ago, I discussed this on the program too, but like I said that day, there are also different angles to read. How do we also know the aspects whereby the power sector players will play in this whole process? But I want you to start by explaining to Nigerians right now that may be hearing this for the first time, what that power decentralization mean, what the signing into law of that bill means for an average Nigerian. What does it mean, really? Not so technical, in a very primary form.
Okay, thank you very much, Nancy. What the president signed into law is more in response to the yearnings of Nigerians and the clamor for devolution of power. Power in this sense now meaning legislative power. The power to control the grid, power to make laws concerning electricity has been concentrated at the center, but with the constitutional amendment, the power has been passed to states now, state assemblies to make laws. And then let's just go back a bit, so to make it clear. From independence up to 1999, legislative competence, that is power to make laws over electricity, for example, has never been in the exclusive list. It's never been the exclusive preserve of the federal government. Up to 1999, the states, of course, the regions at independence, they had the powers to make laws concerning regulation of electricity. Even in 1970, under the 1979 Constitution, there was nothing like that in the exclusive list. It was in the concurrence list. The states had powers to make those laws. But, and that's where the distinction is. There was this big behemoth called NEPA. Yeah, there was the NEPA Act, which came into force in 1972, and that was under the military. And don't forget that when the military took over in the mid-60s, of course, military would normally suspend and modify the constitution. So, I mean, we'll have some form of unitary administration. So NEPA came in, and all the, became a monopoly. So all the powers to do the business, which is different from powers to make the laws. Powers to do the business was concentrated on NEPA. So, and NEPA was a federal government institution. And then the powers to regulate was given to the Minister of Power, the minister in charge of power at the time, under what was then known as the Electricity Act. So until 1998, you find out that nobody could enter into generation, transmission, and distribution business except NEPA. Then in 1998, there was the amendment of NEPA Act, which allowed some form of private sector involvement, particularly in generation. And of course, the Electricity Act was equally amended. Then the 1999 Constitution came and then added that, this phrase, not covered by the grid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not
so
covered by the
for
grid.
what you're saying now, the state houses of assembly can generate, transmit, and distribute, but they can't do that where there's national grid.
Yes, that's it. Again, let me explain again. Powers to make laws, we have to be very careful. Yeah, legislative competence deals with powers to make laws. And that's what the president has done. The president has said, look, states, you now have, we're through federalism, we're in a federation. States, you can make laws concerning generation, transmission, distribution now, unlike before, where it was restricted to the National Assembly. So you can make the laws, but the states have always had the powers actually to do the business.
That's actually
They've
where
always had the
why I'm
powers.
asking,
Yes, they've always had the powers to do the business. I run Niger Delta Power Holding Company today. Niger Delta Power Holding Company.
Co-owned?
Yes, 53% owned by states.
States,
yeah.
53%.
Yes, owned by
so
states.
the remaining 47 is between local governments.
No,
and
53% owned by states
and
and
local
local
governments.
governments,
Okay.
47% by
federal government.
by federal government. And many states had in the past, invested in the electricity undertakings. You have River State, you have Akwa Ibom, you have, in fact, it started with Lagos State. It started with the current president-elect, His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who invited Enron. I'm sure some of us will remember that. In 1999, as far back as 1999. But again, I know that the position of the law at that time also frustrated that from achieving what it was meant to achieve. Yes, the generation was done at, in Lagos State, but it had to go to national grid. I'm sure at that time His Excellency intended it to be for Lagos State. But because of this kind of convolution in the law, it has to go into the national grid. So all that is now gone. With the constitutional amendment, states can now take their destinies into their hands, make the laws concerning these businesses, work with private partners to do these businesses, see how they can deepen electricity supply in their states. Yeah.
Does this really solve the power problem? Because states like, which you've mentioned now, Lagos, states like Akwa Ibom, which other states?
Edo State
Edo
just
State
did,
too.
yes, a lot of
Edo
states.
State is even, I think,
Kaduna State,
with
Governor Rufai did quite a lot too. Yeah, a number of states, they've been looking for ways, but they've been constrained from my, of course, I have state governors in my board. From my discussions with them in my board, they've been looking for ways to do, but they've been constrained because if you look at the undertakings, it right from generation up to distribution, you find out that, at what point would states come in? And if they come in, how do they control the investments they have made? How do they ensure that the investment they have made is successful? How do they ensure that the investments or what they are promoting gets to their citizens, the people they govern, you know. And then when they're faced with that challenge, they have to come to Abuja, to come to the regulator, to come. It's been a lot of
Because
challenge
anything
for
they
them.
generate,
Yes,
it has to go to the national grid.
but that is if it is grid connected.
If it is, if it is grid connected,
Yes.
I don't understand. Can
Okay,
you
okay,
explain
okay,
that?
okay.
Because
Let me explain national grid
if
to
it
you.
is, no, I understand what it means. What I'm saying is that I've been issued before.
Yeah.
If states generate, they would take it to the national grid, isn't it? And the national grid, it will be distributed.
Yeah.
They may not even be distributed to their own states
That's
that
right.
generate.
That's what happened in Lagos State. Yes,
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So for now, they can generate, they can transmit, and they can distribute. That's what the amendment says now, within areas or territories covered.
Yes, that's it.
Are we getting ourselves?
Yeah. Sorry, maybe it's been a bit technical again,
okay.
because I sit one as an operator and also I'm a lawyer. So what the purpose is, what the amendment does is to say, state assemblies, you have the powers to make laws. Yes. So what we will now be discussing, or what we should be focusing, is how can states take advantage of their powers to make laws, to deepen, to ensure capital mobilization, to ensure that electricity business is done and there is connectivity, and the people within their states have electricity. How do you take advantage of this new law? So you don't have to come before now. For example, let me also make it clear here, because we started at 1999 Constitution. I mean, based on 1999 Constitution that gave the places the legislative competence in the National Assembly. Of course, the Electricity Regulatory Commission, the NAC, was established under the Electric Power Sector Reform Act in 2005. The Electric Power Sector Reform Act is a holistic law, national law, covering everywhere. And it says you cannot do any electricity undertaking without a license by the regulator. So if you want to do generation up to 1 megawatt, I mean more than 1 megawatt, you have to get the license of regulator. A regulator is a national institution. It's not a state institution.
Which is NEC.
NEC. If you want to do electricity distribution undertaking of any for even up to 100 kilowatts, with capacity up to 100 kilowatts, you need the license from NEC. If you want to establish transmission, you need the license from NEC. You know, all that. And then, you know, it's some, if we are talking federalism, really, I think the states want to be able to do some of these things without, I want to set up a power plant of, say, 10 megawatts. Why do I have to come to Abuja to get a license, right? I want to do some mini grid of sorts. Mini grid, I mean, maybe over 100 kilowatts, I want to distribute to my people. Why do I need a license? Why do I need to be regulated? I think those are the questions the state governors have been asking. And so they want to be able to create their market. They want to be able to ensure that where there's availability of supply and that the people take electricity and they pay for it. Now, back to the question, how would this help to provide electricity? Electricity is organized in segments, as you know. So if for us to be able to do that, you need to dimension what are the challenges across the segments, right? In generation today, our problem is so much of fuel, that's gas.
Gas, okay.
Yeah, our problem is gas, I can tell you that, and gas pricing and all that. So how would they do that? How would they help to do that? Where they can try other generation sources, like everywhere in Nigeria is open to solar. I mean, there are states with small hydro capabilities, with water courses running within the states. Of course, if the water course is cross-border across the states, it becomes a federal matter. But, I mean, they can take advantage of that, encourage investments. What states need to do, make laws that will encourage investment, provide necessary backstops, ensure that electricity generated is well distributed, gets to end users, and they pay for the electricity generated. As simple as that. That's on their own. In transmission area, also So they can partner, they cannot. They can do their own grid if they want. They can do their own grid if they want, but technically I don't know how several grids will be sitting side by side. But they can do their transmission grid within their state, but that is areas that you do not have the national grid already. If they can also have a handshake with the transmission company by ensuring that there's a grid. I mean, some states like Delta State, our state, is not properly covered in terms of grid coverage. Yeah. So if the governor decides want to get involved in transmission, can discuss with the transmission company. States can actually invest. And I've always argued that transmission infrastructure should be open to anybody who can do the business. You know, if somebody wants to do the line, open it up, you know, from point A to point B. If it makes economic sense, do your financial model. If it makes economic sense, people will invest in it and people would get paid. But transmission coordination, which is the work of the system operator, should remain, once it is national grid. Don't forget that national grid is just a network of synchronized demand and supply systems. So somebody has to control that.
That's for transmission coordination.
For transmission.
Which you're saying now should still rest with TCN.
Yes, should still rest with TCN, yes. If the state's going to build their own transmission outside that of national grid, fine. They will also have their own transmission coordination, fine. They have the right
but
to
it shouldn't be around the areas also covered by the TCN.
TCN, I mean, why would you have, I mean,
both connections?
Connections, I don't know how, I don't know how that will work. In terms of the environmental and other issues, I mean, transmission is not particularly environmental friendly. You're talking of the heat and all that. That's why transmission lines are in the you know. So you don't want to run several transmission lines everywhere crossing the state. If you check all transmission lines, you're not supposed to have anything under. Yes, it's because of environment.
In Nigeria, some people you build houses reasons. Under.
Yes, you know, it has serious health and safety challenges. So that's for transmission. Well, then for distribution, of course, this is where the states are expected to play very big and well.
And that's where the money is.
Yeah, that's where you collect them. Not where the
money
is, but where you collect the money. Yeah.
For the sector.
For the sector, yeah. So you need to get, they need to find a way to get involved, seriously involved. I mean, we in generation, we keep saying that we have available generation, and that's the truth. And the challenge is getting the networks and getting the money from the end users. So states will find a way to get investment in networks. States will have to find a way to get investment in billing and collection, ensuring the efficiencies, ensuring meter installations, and all of that. States will have to ensure connectivity with reliable and affordable electricity to their citizens. That is where the action should be for them. A lot of, if you check, I think I was reading, I think it was World Bank report some few years back, they say in Nigeria we have a connection of about 55% or 55.4%. You know, that's connection. These connections we are talking about, federal government, the whole Nigeria is federal government territory, so all these connections are in states, right? So states should now try to deepen this connection, strengthen this connection, ensure that their citizens are connected. And that connection is not just connection, there must be power flowing, electricity flowing in the lines to homes. And so states' involvement will naturally include making laws, making regulations that encourage investment. I do not think that states will have the level of money required to make all the investments, but please provide the enabling environment.
For investors.
Yes, encourage private investment to come in those areas. Yeah.
Okay. You've always said that generation is not a problem, but you also did mention earlier that some of the challenges you're having is gas availability as well as the pricing of gas, which is in dollars. Now, do you foresee states also having that challenge in terms of generation? Because some states are already generating now. The question will be, okay, the challenges which you are having, do you foresee that they will have those challenges too?
Yes.
Gas
Yes.
availability
Yes.
challenges,
Yes.
and it would
Yes.
also impede
Yeah. Yeah.
the progress?
Yes.
Where would the gas come from if,
Exactly.
as federal government,
Yeah.
you are not getting gas? How will the state, or you understand what I mean?
Yeah. And it's not just federal government. I think it's just everyone. We have well over 25 generation companies in the country, and out of which over 20 or more are gas thermal. Yeah. So it's not just with federal government. Yeah. But the problem with gas, the gas challenge is in terms of the molecules and in terms of transportation. Yeah. In terms of molecules, getting the gas suppliers, getting the gas. Yeah. But what underpins all this is the commercial. If you have the right pricing from our discussions with gas suppliers, gas companies, if you pay, if you have the money, you pay, you get the gas. It's as simple as that.
So is it a problem of not having the money?
So the system we run now that we run what I call dispatchable power. That's centrally dispatched power. You connect to the grid, and of course the grid takes it to various parts of the country. Yes, and then to get the money back, you get underpaid, and because you get underpaid, you underpay your gas supplier.
So you don't have enough to pay your gas supplier.
Yeah, that's right.
So
but the regulator came up. Let me also point out. The regulator came up last year. I think we started in July when we said, okay, we need to have firm contracts because the sector is, the sector is under so it's interlocking. Yeah, it's a chain. So everyone leads to everyone. So, and that is how the contracts for us lawyers do. That's how the contracts ought to work. Yeah, there must be a gas contract. And there must be offtake, generation offtake, that takes into account the risks in gas contract. And then there will be the transportation contract that takes into account again the risks. You keep moving the risk up to the point of the vesting contract with the distribution companies, up to their connection to end users. But where you do not have offtake agreements, you find out that you are warehousing which is what we have done over the years, warehousing the gas risks, which again doesn't work well. So the regulator came up in July last year, I think, and said, look, we need to have some level of discipline in the market. We need to have firm contracts up to 5,000 megawatts, which we now have, and in that firm contract, they put in place some, what we call GSSF, Gas Supply Stabilization Fund, which ensures that the gas suppliers, at least going forwards, are fully paid for what they supply. Yes, there are still some shortfall in that, but that ensures that the gas suppliers are being paid, in the interim. Yeah, but still a lot of work still needs to be done to ensure that more wells are drilled for gas. We have more gas gathering facilities, we have more gas molecules, and of course the maintenance of the gas supply lines. Yeah, the maintenance of the gas supply lines, they will have gas pressure issues on the gas supply lines. So sometimes, you have the molecules, but for the gas to get to you, because of the pressure on the lines, it becomes a problem. So your plant is not able to work optimally. That's also a big challenge. Yeah.
Because I know even as of last year, NEC as well as I think even the DISCOs, that's the GENCOs and even NEC are yet to pay huge amounts of dollars as gas debts.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we are.
I
think the figure that I had as of last year, perhaps August, is around $27 million.
Yes. 27 from where?
About $27 million or over $20 million gas debt. That's talking about the GENCOs as well as the debt is part of the gas contract.
Yes.
That was signed by NEC, GENCOs as well as gas companies.
Yeah. Yeah, I may not know the one you're talking about for us.
But you know that there are existing debts.
Serious ones. Yeah, we all owe. Every generation company owes gas supplier. Yeah, and every generation company is owed for electricity generated by embed. Any grid connected generation company is owed seriously. I've mentioned it. But payment is being made. But today, NDPHC alone, we are owed over 100 billion. And out of that 100 billion, I can tell you that even 70% of that is for gas. So
100 billion naira.
yeah, over,
Over
well
100
over, well
billion.
over, yes, well over 100 billion. And out of that, at least 70% of that
It's for gas.
is owed to the gas
Now, if we
companies.
take a look at this new process or this new policy that is coming on board, that means that we'll have 36 electricity markets, that's talking about states now, and the federal electricity markets, which would also be going side by side. Do you see any likelihood of conflict? Because the electricity markets in the states will have to function if there's also a framework by them in terms of their House of Assembly coming up with a holistic framework. So if they haven't done it, it's as well as we're still in the old order.
Yes, I think some states have been proactive in that. Lagos State for one, Edo State, and I think Kaduna State. So many states have been proactive in setting up their electricity market, in setting up broad legal framework, policy framework, and legal framework for this to thrive, even before the amendment. So I don't think it's a problem. What's really a problem is the fact that they must work with the federal institutions. They must sit with NEC, because NEC has been regulating the entire sector. And so you can't, it needs to, I mean, there needs to be some level of harmony in the way they work, in the way they coexist. For example, the distribution companies are operating in states, right? But distribution companies are regulated by NEC.
That means with this thing now, states can also have their own regulators. A state NEC, as a state regulator.
You can get, states can set up their regulator to regulate the undertakings outside what is already on ground, right? Now, the point where we need to even think carefully is the point of tariff that will be charged within a state. That's where we need to think very, and we need to be very creative about.
Why did you say that? Is it that perhaps that when a state comes up with theirs, they may decide that their tariffs should be lower for their citizens, which knocks off
exactly.
the existing discourse. And the existing discourse, if their tariffs are higher, of course people would migrate from them to another disco that gives them affordable, so to speak, tariffs and knock them out of business. It's competition.
Yes. You see,
so that's why I say we should be creative.
Yes, we should be creative, but the way it is designed is competition. Now are you going to compete? Are you going to run several poles and wires to compete? Or are you going to use existing poles and wires and have different traders competing? So these are some of the questions. I mean, the ideal thing is have the existing poles and wires, ensure that there are no technical challenges, ensure that there's an open access. I think that's the way it was designed to engender competition at the beginning. Ensure there's an open access at the billing and collection end of it. That means people can come, consumers can compete, or suppliers can compete for patronage of consumers using the existing networks to supply them, because a lot of networks lie idle now, no power flowing in them. In fact, it's been a challenge for us at NDPHC. After building networks to help and all that, there is no energy running on them, they get vandalized. So that's where states will come in, ensure that there are investments that allows people to use existing network to serve their citizens. And then states who now determines the tariff to be charged, it has to be regulated. Somebody has to create a balance between the investors and end users. That's what NEC was doing. That's what NEC was doing, but there's been a lot of challenge in that area. And states will now want to do this business, want to regulate this business, want to bring people to do this business, want to create an enabling environment. Who? Those are some of the questions, and that's where we'll have to be creative. And that's why I am saying that there will definitely be the need for states, regulators or states, states actors to sit with the existing federal actors like NERC, work out the modalities on which we'll move forward with respect to this. The amendment is a very, very good one, but there is still some work to be done. I mean, I also don't forget again that, yes, if something is in the concurrent list, there's also the supremacy of the federal laws.
So you're speaking as a lawyer now?
Yeah. So if there's a conflict between the federal and state laws, federal law would always prevail.
But
so
with what we have right now, you're seeing that conflict already? With the president signing this amendment bill?
What the amendment bill said is, look, states, don't worry, we're now keeping it as exclusive preserve of federal government. No. We are now, we're not also giving you. The federal government is not, of course, federal government can't hands off completely. The federal government still has to make laws. Unless federal government is saying, we don't want to do it again. No. Federal government is still there. And that is why there is need to work together to ensure that there is no conflict. So there must be proper handshakes, sitting down together. I mean, even if the law cannot do it, I envisage a situation where the law would have to be amended. I mean, to respond to the existing the present circumstance. But even if the law is not amended immediately, there should be some understanding, some MOU type of arrangement between every state, with state actors and the regulatory commission. Yeah.
Do you think with this amendment bill that the president has signed into law, do you foresee, I don't want to sound like an angel of doom, but do you think that we'll be better off or will be worse off eventually? Because it seems for every development that we make in the power sector, okay, we'll see that there's a problem now. From 2005, let me take it from 2005, where we had the Electricity Reform Act and all of that. We'll say, okay, there's a crisis here. This is how we'll do it. For example, the sector has a lot of debts, for example. There was a time, money is the issue. Interventions were done. Even during Sanusi days as central bank governor, the Power and Innovation Fund was created, PAIF, it was done. This same central bank governor, money is still going to the sector. So it seems that for every step we take, it seems that sector is still clogged. So with this now, do you think we will be better off in terms of reliability, in terms of affordability, in terms of availability?
Yes.
Okay. We will take this video so that in years to come we'll pay it. Yes. Yeah. Tell me how.
Okay.
And with all of this now, what should states begin to do? Now we're going to be having new state governors in the next few days, and of course re-elected ones. What should they begin to do?
You see, the field is quite vast and it's open. A lot of things that the states can do in terms of providing power for their citizens. First, like I said, there are a lot of stranded generation in the states. If the states cannot even encourage, first, let me put it this way. The states have to encourage investment in generation or different fuel types, depending on your areas of comparative advantage. If you have hydro sources, please do and ensure your citizens are connected. Make laws that incentivize investment in those areas. Let them come and invest. You don't need to go with your laws, you don't need to run to any RC to be asking for license and to be regulated by NRC. Make your own regulations, ensure that your citizens, the investments are made and your citizens are served. And then take advantage again of existing generation capacities. For example, NDPHC, we've met a number of states who say we'll have this, who can step down this. You can use them to supply certain areas, set up industrial parks, areas that would create employment for your citizens, areas that will ensure connection, your citizens will have electricity. Take advantage of it. Even if you don't have money to invest directly, make the laws, that will encourage investors to come in. It's a bit dicey. What laws can they really make? But they can offer a lot of incentives in the states. They can grandfather, partnerships, relationships, pursue them aggressively, get some federal incentives because most companies, of course, will be subject to federal laws like companies' income tax and all that. See how you can help investors develop develop electricity supply in your states and provide electricity to your citizens. I think what the president has done is allowing the states to take their destinies into their hands in terms of electricity supply in their states.
Okay. What's the potential of generation? What's the generation capacity potential for Nigeria?
Potential?
Yes, I'm going somewhere. Because you say, oh, Gencos can generate. The problem is not generation, we can generate. And I also know that Gencos are also being owed.
Yes.
So what's the generation potential? Let's start from there.
When you mean potential, are you talking about
capacity
the demand?
Yes.
Or the capacity
what
we have now?
Yes, capacity that we can give.
Capacity that we can give right now installed. That's the capacity of existing plants on ground and dispatchable plants. That's centrally, the ones that are connected to the grid. It's somewhere around 13,000 megawatts.
13,000?
Yeah, I think Zungeru has come with about 700 now, so it's a bit higher now. So we're closing up to 14,000.
So about 14,000 megawatts.
Yeah,
but what we have right now is around, oscillating around 4,000 megawatts in terms of
the actual generation. Yes. So from installed, you have available, technically available. Yes, let me explain.
You power people.
Yeah, let me explain. Technically used.
Yes.
If everything being equal, is switch it to
it will come
on. But there is commercial availability again. Commercially available. I have gas. I have evacuation. I put it on the grid. It goes.
Commercial availability.
Yeah.
That means also if you have money to pay for the gas.
Yes.
So the commercial availability is determined by the funds that are available.
No, it's determined. Commercial availability is largely determined by the transportation capability of TCN and the ability of the discos to take, as well as my ability to get gas. Yes,
for gas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's where we are hovering around 5,000 megawatts now. Determined.
Can you now speak to me as we close how this may likely affect NDPHC and the IPPs
we've developed. Yes.
How many do you have now?
So NDPHC has since constructed and developed about 4,000 megawatts on ground now. We have 1,000 megawatts coming up maybe in the next 15 months from 3 other power plants that are ongoing. Construction is ongoing in different sites now, or that is ongoing at the moment. Out of this 4,000 megawatts, like I said, we have barring maintenance and other operational challenges, we have at least close to 2,500 available to go to the grid as we speak. But the grid has assured us they will be able to take close to 1,000 megawatts, about 975 megawatts. That's what we've signed up with transmission company. And they said this is what we're able to take and put in the grid to make the effort. Out of that 975, I think we're doing about 600 plus this morning because of gas challenges. So we have the units, we're ready to go. Transmission could take a little more than what we have, than the gas available we have. And we are pushing for gas. We've been discussing with some gas suppliers who are ready to make the investment and allow us take gas from them. But again, we've applied to the regulator. They are asking for a price higher than the market has approved, the regulator has approved. So at every point in time, the regulator is faced with the challenge of balancing this. You need to balance the end users and then again balance what the end users will want, what they can afford, and what the investors want to asking for. So we've applied to the regulator, and we're expecting the regulator to give us approval for the gas. And once we get the gas, we'll start playing the gas. The units are there, the power plants are there. As for the states, we're working with them. I've spoken to a number of the governors and even the governors elect. We're partnering with them, find a way to partner with them to make sure that we take up this existing capacity, serve their citizens, even though they don't go to the wider grid, but we step them down for use within the states, yeah, and then the rest can go to the grid and serve the rest part of the country. And we are working with that. We have a lot of off-grid solutions, standalone solutions like solar home systems. We also have some off-grid solar projects, mini grids we are doing with states. We are discussing with Gombe State government. We are discussing with Nasarawa State government, including other states. We are working with Kebbi State. We've been discussing with them again for off-grid. So there are a lot of opportunities. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, to work with the
I
states.
think the next part could now look at the opportunities themselves in terms of the business cases and the investments that are being expected. That would be another interview.
Okay.
Not today.
Not today.
Because we've got to go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're looking at your time because we've been talking for a while. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. I've been speaking with Chiedu Ugbo, who is the Managing Director and the Chief Executive Officer at the Niger Delta Power Holding company, NDPHC. We've been looking at the decentralization of Nigeria's power sector. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Moneyline with Nancy TV. I will see you all again next time. Be the best you can be, but the change that you want to see. Bye for now.